Welcome to Everyone Has a Story podcast. Now, there's one way of teaching and conveying our message that I really prefer to use, and that is using comparisons through analogies. Now, I think that it's ideal because you get two different examples in front of you, and sometimes that makes the student, the listener, it makes it easier for them to understand. So I'm going to use the analogy right now of the example of fly fishing, the art of fly fishing, and launching a business. Now, when you go to launch a business, obviously you need to, as a business owner, brand new business owner, you need to know that you do have an ideal, very practical and useful product or service. Now, what you need to do, step two, is you now need to find out, do you have a community of customers? You need to make sure that you have that right base of customers. Once you find that you do have that right community and that right base of customers, you now need to do a little bit of market research, demographics to find out, okay, what are their buying habits and how are you going to really get your product and message in front of these people? Then once you find that out, now you need to market, deliver that message, and be ready to sell your product or service. Okay, so now let's leave the business community, go on vacation to the river of my choice, and we're going to go fly fishing. All right. First of all, I get to the river and I know I've already asked the questions. I know that there's plenty of fish, and in my choice of fish is trout. So I know there's plenty of trout in this river. I'm excited. I know it's ready to go. So here's the thing. I now know that this river has trout, but where are those trout? So just like in the business, I have to find those pockets of community customers that are going to buy. So I find that place in the river. It looks healthy. It looks like it's going to be a place where there's some big trout hiding out. And now I need to determine what fly at that particular moment is going to be the best fly to put in front of that fish for them to buy. So get to my story here. I found a river. It's been probably 4 or 5 months and I was just itching. I mean, really badly itching to get on that river. So I get to the river, I know there's fish. And as soon as I get out, I get my waders on, I get my fly or my pole all set up, I put my fly on it. And as I'm starting to now research and look at the river, I had that Christmas vacation moment where the Clark Griswold takes his family in the wild wilderness, forest land. It's waist high in snow, and he finds that ideal tree out in the middle of nowhere. I looked over at this one spot in the river and the lights were coming down from the heavens saying, Roger, this is the place that you're going to throw your fly and you're going to catch some fish. I am so excited. I'm antsy. I'm ready to get going. Instead of looking around to find the best way to get to that part, because unfortunately that part of the river was on the other side. And so either I'm going to have to walk a long way. There was no bridge to see. And so I'm thinking, okay, I got my spot. The river doesn't look like it's too high. It's not really moving that fast. I think I can just walk straight across. So, when you first walk out the river, it's kind of shallow and not really that hard, walking in it. Then about that time, I'm about a third of the way, maybe 40% of the way across. I realize, wow, this water is going a lot faster than what I thought. It's getting deeper than I thought. There's bigger rocks down here than I thought. And all I could see is that light coming down from heaven saying, Roger, this is your spot. So I'm about halfway through now. I take a pause. I'm thinking, oh my God, there better be fish there because I'm about ready to go under. I start to go a little bit further, and sure enough, I start to lose my balance. I get my core all engaged. I get my resilience up. I get my mindset. I'm going to make it across. And after a couple stumbles, I didn't go down, but I started to make it across. I get to a little bit shallow area where the water's not running as fast. My heart's pounding, I'm sweating, but I can still see that light where where those fish are going to be. So I gain my composure. I walk over. I throw probably 4 or 5 attempts, nothing happening. Now, number 5 or number 6, I start to see a little action in the water. So I'm thinking, okay, there is a fish in there. And about my 7th or 8th cast, by God, I had one. And it was well worth the fight going across. So now let's get into the real world of business. We all know launching a business can be a struggle, maybe not the same kind of struggle as trying to walk across a river when it's flowing pretty good to get to that end result, but we all have struggles. And instead of taking shortcuts, which a lot of you have heard me talk about, not taking shortcuts unless you really have the right guidance. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, because I have found a coach who understands the use of comparisons and analogies. I use fly fishing. She uses hip hop. I think they're kind of the same in some metaphorical way. But the fact is, she wants to be that bridge, that link to help the people getting from their point A to their point B into their entrepreneurial and their life's journey. So with that being said, let me introduce you to Dr. Tori Ellis. Tori, welcome.
Hi, Roger. Thank you for having me on.
Well, no, thank you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell one of my favorite stories, because I'm alive to tell it. So I didn't go under and I didn't drown. So anyway, Tori, Dr. Tori Ellis, she's an author of a great book that I recommend to everybody. It's called The Sound of Business, Seeing Entrepreneurship Through Hip Hop. She's a public speaker. She's a life and business coach. Tori, what else do we need to know about you before we get into this podcast?
I think the only other title that I have that you haven't mentioned is that I'm a mom. But
Well,
other than that, I'm always a student. Yes.
yeah, and so now that you've opened that door, besides everything that we've just talked about, being an author, being a business and life coach, being an author of a book and public speaker, she is a mom of a very active child, but she also has 2 nonprofits, right? That you work with, that you help people, help them with their journeys, whatever those journeys might be. So, how you find time for all this. I know for one thing, I'm not going to ask you to go fly fishing, because I know you're going to tell me no, because you don't have time to do it. So I'll find someone else to go fly fishing with. But anyway, yeah, what you do and how you do it and how much you do is just remarkable. And I'm in awe of you. I think I get a lot accomplished, but I don't have anything like your schedule. And so I just applaud you for that. So anyway, let's talk about being that bridge that I mentioned earlier. What is it to you? What is that reference to you when you hear the term bridge and you use the term bridge?
Well, oftentimes you hear that term, filling in the gap. And for me, I feel like a bridge is more suitable. And the reason why is because, a bridge will take you from point A to point B, and you have to travel across that bridge, right? So in order to do that, there are steps you have to take. Sometimes there's traffic along the way. But being a bridge, I would love to be that part of helping people go from point A to point B, helping them start with either their ideas, their thoughts, or even like the things that drive them, and then support them along that journey across the bridge to now bringing that into real life, having that concrete evidence and show for it of, okay, this was my idea, but now I brought it into fruition. So that's what I mean by being a bridge.
Okay. And so tell us, what is typically on the other side of that bridge from the individuals that you help and you coach?
Well, on the other side of the bridge, you do have your business, or you do have your personal goals that you have definitely wanted to attain or accomplish. And in between it, you do have those steps that you have to take. So in the very beginning of your bridge, it's the concept, it's the base, it's what you feel that this is something that the world needs to see. This is something that I need to do for myself or my family or even for the community. And then now, when you're taking your steps in order to make this now come to fruition and getting to that other side of the bridge, It's having that tangible evidence or even that business. Maybe that idea could be a product. It's something of getting it there so that way they're able to be like, hey, I'm able to attain that goal. I'm able to, start that business, get that business going. And that's only part of the way because, once you start something, it doesn't just end. That's not the end all be all. You have to continue going too. And then that journey is a whole nother journey in itself. So maybe someone's journey may be a little bit different. That's probably the first bridge they got to cross. Maybe there's another bridge they got to cross afterwards. But it all depends on the individual. Everyone's unique.
Well, to me, after I read your book and I've had numerous conversations with you, you are that very solid foundational bridge that's going to help individuals get from point A to point B. But I know that you just didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm going to be not only, a consultant, a business owner, helping all these individuals out. There was something that happened in your life that said to you, you need to do this. Tell us about that tipping point moment in your life.
Well, I mean, growing up, I've always been around different entrepreneurs. I've always had the support of family and seeing that their values and their morals and what pillars they were into the community. For me, it was a driving force. I wanted to be able to give back. I wanted to be able to create that legacy of my own. But then knowing too that a lot of my skills definitely came from helping others and supporting others. When you have, I guess, like you say, wisdom at a very young age, you have friends that come to you and seek out that wisdom or seek out that support. And I've always been that voice of reason. So why not take that a whole nother step? And all of my career in school was always based in psychology. I knew from the very beginning that's what I wanted to do. And when I got out of school and now had to take my knowledge and turn it into wisdom to create my business, that was my tipping point. How was I going to take all my skills, my creativity? How was I going to take my life lessons and my experiences? And how was I going to now put forth a service or a product that can help other people? And that tipping point for me came from there. What was my purpose? Was it just to now, write a book? Or was it to take it a step further and now help implement that? So for me, the tipping point was definitely always being of service to others, and then now being able to help them be of service to other people too.
Today's world, there are a lot of unhappy people. My community, unfortunately, is the business community, and there's no shortage of unhappy people in frontline working positions, managerial, and some ownership. And so, why is what we just discussed right now of really finding that passion within you, keeping that passion candle burnt, lit, and where people are really still chasing that light and feeling good about chasing that light, as opposed to just squashing it, letting it burn out, and then they just wake up every day in the dark, miserable, and as we all know, that misery loves company, so they just share their misery and their darkness to everybody else. So why do you think today, more than anything, is it really important for someone to find that light, that inspiration, and then find the Dr. Tori Ellis of their lives and help have that guidance help them?
Well, initially, when people, especially entrepreneurs or people who started businesses, when they first started their business, they had a goal that they wanted to attain. Whether it was, they wanted to be financially set, or they had a purpose that was greater than them and they wanted to help others. They had an initial mission, and that mission was the driving force for their business. Over time, of course, you grow, business grows. So if people are not taking care of the quality of it and just looking at the quantity, it can definitely lose that base. It can lose that fire. And that's when we talk about going and doing that needs assessment. You want to revamp, relook, reassess where you started to where you are now. What has shifted? What has changed? And then do a really candid deep dive into, okay, this is not the direction that I wanted it to go, or maybe this is not the outcome that I seen it happening. So where did that shift happen and where did that change happen? And what can I do now to pivot back to get on the path that's going to really light that fire? Or where am I now positioning myself to probably ignite a new fire within me? Something that was not from the past, but something that I am presently being motivated by or fueled by. Because then now, as we said, people grow, your business grows. That mission may have changed, it may have altered a bit, but then if it still has that drive where, it's to be of support of other people or to have a mission specific and unique to that person, and that person is able to tap back into that, revamp and pivot, it could definitely help. So it's all about the needs assessment and going back within.
So where does the heart come into play? I mean, somehow, some way in our, disconnection from ourselves and our staff, that leads to the disconnection to our customer base. What you just said, where does the heart come into play, or does it, number one, and then how does it come into play?
Well, in business, it's a very thin line. They always say you cannot bring personal into business, or you cannot take things personal in business. But ideally, when you started your business, you had a piece of your heart in it. They always say, like, your business is another baby, right? You fuel it, you nurture it, you give it all the nutrients it needs to grow. Then you watch it blossom, and then you may do some trimmings here and there, make some cuts, make some edits, just so it can continue to grow and lose the dead ends. But that's where the heart comes in. When you're passionate about your business and you're passionate about what you are set to do, your heart is in it. So that's your purpose. And then, of course, you bring on new people to help expand and scale and grow. And those are your internal customers, as I like to say, right? So your internal customers are very pivotal for you because they now are helping you bring this vision or bring in this heart into a bigger scale. They are doing a lot of more of the inner workings that now you have probably pulled to the side so that way you can be on the outside looking in and scale it, reach out to other people who may have a similar mission. But they know more of the ins and outs of your business from the working end. Getting their input on it too, seeing if their vision is aligned, seeing if they have a mission for themselves that fits in this business, or even if it doesn't, it's worth knowing because ultimately their effort and their work, the product that they are pushing out is going to help then transform your business. And then you have your external customers too. Their insight is important as well. Your external customers, they're buying your product. You want repeat customers. You want people who are loyal to you. But at the same time, you have to be loyal to them. You have to do those check-ins, see if the product is meeting their standards, see if their service is meeting their standards. What is it that you can do to help alter or change? Because maybe you're finding out that they have different needs too. And having that information can be very pivotal to your business to help your business grow in so many different ways. So it's very important, I think, with both the internal and the external customers, for sure.
So let's talk about your solutions. And I want to start off with your book. You wrote a paper, a thesis in your MBA class. And I don't know what kind of grade you got, but I'm assuming it's got to be a pretty damn good grade because your instructor came to you and said, you need to turn this into a book. All right. So, you introduced me to your book, and I'm thinking, okay, what can some MBA student teach me about business, right? But I have to tell you, it's now, a top resource that I'm going to, introduce to every business owner that's going to have a staff, because you have put it in a way, the operations of a business, the mindset of a business, the mindset of just the people involved in a way that I think, especially today with the noisiness of the toxic workplace and all this kind of stuff, that it has to be something that should be almost mandatory. If you're going to start a business that's going to have a team of employees that's going to deal with other customers, which means you have a business, that you need to read this book. And so
Mhm.
tell us, about the message in the book and why this would be the appropriate resource of solutions to help a business with their operations get out of this funk of being called a toxic workplace and not really being successful, not being really sustainable in today's world of business.
Well, my professor was absolutely phenomenal when he sat here and he came and told me like, hey, you should publish this. It was a capstone course of mine, and we had to create a book based off of the information that we learned and how we implemented it. I studied industrial organizational psychology in my master's with a focus on occupational health. So it was very imperative at that point to have that focus on your internal customers and also your internal customers and also people that you are dealing with, whether it's outside of your business or within. But also the main part of it too was about your leadership. So in this book particularly, it starts off with the organization. If you are a change agent in your organization, you are the leader of your organization. How do you want to show up? Ultimately, they follow your lead. And a lot of times people will say, this is the hierarchy. I'm here and you're there. For me, it's not that. For me, I don't have people that work for me. I work with people because everybody's insight, everybody's expertise, their niche is important. So in a business, it's very, very important to now take heed to those people who are there. They have skills that are out of this world and is unique to them. But then the way they brainstorm, the information that they give is very important. So in this book, you have the leadership aspect. You talk about building your team. How are you building your team? Where do you find these people to build your team? What tools are you using to find them as well? And I'm all for doing a personality test because the personalities have to mesh. And, having that mission, the same values, the same goals. And over time, people's values and goals change. A single person is not going to have the same values as a person who has a family. Their morals is going to be a little bit different because they're supporting themselves. But when you're supporting a family, you have a little bit more weight on you. You have probably younger children or children of older age who are looking up to you as well, but you have to provide for them too. So your time as well that's available is very different. And that's when that work-life balance comes into play. And we are now in a society where everything is very virtual, remote, since the pandemic, as we see. So that means that more people are accessible through their devices, but when are they able to turn them off? At that point, you have a job that is maybe 9 to 5, but with the devices that we have, it's like you're almost on call all the time, right? So it's being cognizant of those things. And from a leadership standpoint, being able to recognize just the ins and outs, those small details to how to help your internal customers, but then also make sure that your external customers are satisfied too. And if your internal customers are struggling, are you providing support for them as well? And that's where the occupational health comes into play. Then now you can provide programming or even just different intervention programs that can help. Maybe they need access to therapists. Maybe they need access to gyms. Or maybe you can do programs that are within the building that is stress-free or team building activities outside. So that way everyone is seen as an equal and it's something to help build everybody up. It's all these important aspects of business that not too many people think far into. They just think, I have a business, I start it, I hire, it runs, and that's it. But everybody is not a number. Everybody is unique. And when you take heed of all the unique people that you're working with and take heed of their needs too, then that's when your business is now not just growing, but it's sustainable. And sustainable and longevity is what any business owner would want.
As long as there's the positive cash flow, yes, and that they usually go hand in hand. So what was your inspiration to tie in the world of hip hop, the business of hip hop, into your book and your message that you conveyed throughout the chapters?
Well, hip hop for me is a very pivotal part of my life. I listened to hip hop growing up from the time I was in diapers to now. And in hip hop, you can see different businesses. Hip hop have extensions in the tech world, like with Beats by Dre, or in Apple Music. You have Tidal, that was a music platform, streaming platform. But then also you have the clothing. So you have Sean John or, Rockwear. But outside of that, you have the Pumas and Nike. Everybody takes their part. You even have spirits involved. So Cirocs and, Douces. There's so many different businesses and crossovers of hip hop. And it's from the people in hip hop too. The culture is vast. NBA, NFL, they all infuse hip hop. If you see some of the halftime shows, they have either hip hop artists or they have an artist in the music industry. So the music industry in itself is a business. Some of these artists are independent, which means they are their brand. They have to market. They don't have a machine behind them pushing them. So they have to put out a lot of the work. One of the people I talked about in that book who was independent at the time, who has passed away, his name was Nipsey Hussle. And he first started his marketing, his first project, for $100. One CD was $100. And a lot of big name people seen that and thought that marketing strategy was actually very smart because it set him apart from all the other mainstream artists that was out there. So in the hip hop culture, you can get so much information on the world of business and different avenues of business because business is a vast term. There's different businesses out here. So putting hip hop in it, which is my passion, which was my heart, and also it helped me get through a lot of my personal things too, because the music can relate to people on a personal level, an emotional level. It's able to infuse hip hop on so many different topics. And that's why hip hop was the perfect thing and the perfect culture to talk about for my book.
Well, congratulations on everything you've accomplished in such a short amount of time in the book. I recommend that everybody go and get this book sooner than later. Tori, I can't thank you enough for being my guest today. But I want you to leave us with just one more little bit of Dr. Tori Ellis inspiration and advice before we say goodbye.
So one thing I would say, and I live by this, is being authentically me. Your audience is meant to hear you, and your audience is out there. There's not one specific audience for everybody. So keep pushing, keep taking those steps forward, and don't doubt yourself, because if you have a message that you feel in your heart or a service that you feel in your heart is meant to change the world or help change people, whether it's one person at a time or it's a mass, it's worth leaving a mark here on this world. So always be authentically you.
Great advice and great final words of inspiration. If someone wants to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you to learn more from you and more about your services and your books?
Well, you can go to my website, thesoundofbusiness.org. It is literally the same spelling as the book. And you can find me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. My Instagram is always_Dr. Dr. Tori, Torii. And on LinkedIn, you can type in Tori Ellis, Psych D, and pop up right there.
Well, once again, thank you. And I know there'll be many, many more episodes with the two of us. This is too good of content to keep quiet on.
Oh, yes, we'll definitely grow. And be on the lookout for the workbooks, because there's definitely workbooks to accompany that book shortly. Definitely coming soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this platform and this opportunity, Roger. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues Card apps, coaching and workshops. Steven at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at Ivy Cat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.